And that's the trick to running an obnoxious D&D game, is just never do the last 2 lines. Stop before you get to that point, which is why we stopped the last session before Gus's date. Gus, do you remember the name of the person you're going on a date with?
No.
Wow.
Like, we hadn't got to test him.
Now we know why Treble's still single.
Yeah.
Can't remember anybody's name.
Who are you again?
I actually don't remember his name either. I have it in my notes. Paesto. The large man with bronze skin and an eye patch.
Huh?
All right. Walk me through the plan once you get Gus and Paesto together. Are all of you going to be... You're all going to be present in some capacity, correct?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, we agreed we were going to get like an adjacent table or something creepy / hilarious.
Paesto will look around and just be like, oh, everybody who was at the church 2 days ago is all here now.
Me and Alex are going to get in disguise.
And 2 of them are wearing fake mustaches. That's weird. Also, they're very short.
I'm not going to say anything because apparently I've lost control of everything. I'm just going to sit here and let it happen.
What do you mean? You have the most control. This was your idea.
One of the big recurring themes in RPG horror stories are players who feel like their agency has been taken away. Now, Treble, I as a DM, my philosophy is that players have no agency. Ever.
Uh-huh.
I grant you the carefully constructed illusion of agency to keep you addicted to the game and playing week after week. And now we know why that's a good thing, because we see what happens when you're given any semblance of agency whatsoever.
Don't you put this evil on me. I was making a stupid joke.
And then what happened?
And what did we learn?
Absolutely nothing, and we'll do it again next time.
Yeah.
That is the correct answer. So, the first thing, I don't... Have we even established at any point that Gus is into dudes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's well established.
That's well established? Okay. Are you into eye patches?
They don't really do... I answered this question last time, too.
It was 2 weeks ago. You didn't remember the
Right.
character's name, so...
I don't. But I do remember, like, somebody asked me, and I told them, I said, the eye patch doesn't really do it for me, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's into Subarus, though.
I didn't know that
Sorry.
Subaru was
Sorry.
the Apple of cars. And
It
now
is.
do.
It is. It's crazy.
So if you get an electric Subaru, do you have to get, like, proprietary, like...
Proprietary electricity?
Don't joke about that, God.
Oh, I forgot. We have texted. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
No, I mean, I just meant in the capacity of, just watch. Companies are going to, like, make proprietary energy somehow. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it did happen.
In Texas.
Were you not watching the news? Dude. Current events.
Ugh.
I'm sorry, I've derailed everyone.
You have. So, Treble,
Uh-huh.
what preparations does Gustavo make for his date? I'm assuming you're going with the Gustavo Gnomer, like his the saucy Latino version of Gus, which is the sexiest version.
Give me 1 second to unpack that sentence.
I'm thinking like a saucy Ricky Ricardo, right?
Okay, it's unpacked and then put back in the box. And we're going to push the box to the side.
Are you putting it next to the Petty Grievances box?
You might as well just leave that box open.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I've got to get new clothes, and I've got to get
I took you clothes shopping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clothes shopping already happened.
clothes shopping already happened. Okay. Well, I'm... I don't know what to do here. Gus doesn't know what to do here.
So it sounds like it's incumbent on the rest of you to teach Gus what to do. And I think the way to do that would be in the vein of like a 1980s teen drama montage where it starts where Gus is just like the frumpy mousy girl with glasses, and at the end of it is going to be like the heartthrob throwing her hair back in slow motion.
Gus's hair's not long enough for that.
I've had 2 weeks to think about this a lot.
We need to buy a dress, some high heels.
So what are the rest of you doing to help Gus prepare, since he is doing literally nothing?
Yeah, like I said, I take him out clothes
You
shopping.
bought him some new clothes.
Yeah, I think we actually did that last session.
Yeah, we were doing things last session, and I can't remember.
But in terms of coaching him, like how to act, what to say, where to steer the conversation.
Lucius can do that kind of thing, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this guy to tell us more about Yashnar's and his apparent like desire to not do the Osprey thing anymore and instead go crack skulls on Acheron. Is that like where we're?
Well, what we're specifically looking for is memories of the person that Yashnars knew when he was a young man.
Okay.
Who supposedly this guy knows about.
I would just like to show a little bit of appreciation for not want to do the Osprey thing anymore. That was a good turn of phrase. I like how you put that.
Alright, so be sure to offer them a cigarette before you light yours. That's the only thing I know about women or relationships.
It does occur to me that nobody in Flumph Inc. has any romantic experience whatsoever. None of you know what the hell you're doing.
6
That's
charisma, my
not-
man.
That's not true.
Connor, badgers don't count.
Seeker's advice is that once they start talking, just let them keep talking. People love to talk about themselves.
Okay, that's actually good advice. Thank you.
Lots of compliments.
Is it possible to get to too many compliments? Alex is quietly
It
taking
is
notes.
possible.
So,
It
Gus,
is possible.
while they're talking, Gus is going to shave, like trim his face, like fresh shave,
Okay.
put on his nice, clean new clothes,
Yeah.
and he's listening to everybody, and he's just going to. Are you going to cast? You're going to cast like enhance ability on me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is just to be clear, is enhanceability charisma a cologne?
It's a cigarette. Just stand there, okay, smoke this, you got this, you know what you can do.
Gus, how do you initiate contact with Paesto?
Just gonna walk up to him, and just.
Now, Paesto is about a head and a half taller than you, and you're already a pretty big guy.
Huh?
And he has this bronzed skin that, to your eyes first, like it might look like somebody who's lived their whole life working under the Keyskin sun. But maybe it's just the drab gray backdrop of Sigil, but you're pretty sure this is the most vivid color you've seen in a person since you've gotten here. And he's wearing ill-fitting vestments of an acolyte of Osprey, whose various sigils you know well. He glowers down at you wearing his eye patch.
Hello. I was wondering if, when you're done with your duties for the day, you would like to accompany me to dinner. Maybe get a drink.
The sides of his mouth curl downwards into a scowl, and he crosses his arms over his muscular, tantalizing chest that you can't see because of the vestments. But you can imagine it's in there, and it's all you can think about. And he doesn't say anything. He waits for you to stammer out whatever you're going to say next.
My name is Gus. What's yours?
He balls his right hand into a fist, and he hits it against his chest twice. He says, "Pay esto."
It's like, what time do you get off? Do you want to what was the we were gonna take him to? This is just out of character. We were gonna I have we got like a reservation at some place that serves fish, right? That was part of the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have a reservation anywhere. What you found is a fish market in the clerk's ward, where there are eating areas. So this is not a high scale fancy restaurant. I have in my notes, fish market in the clerk's ward where they serve rum.
Okay, that's fine.
Sounds good.
You want to go?
Wait, is Seeker with you?
Seeker is not there.
He's under Gus's hat. Gus, are you wearing?
No, Seeker and Alex have already set up a table like across from where we're hoping that they can sit.
Okay. Now, the tables in the area, because it's kind of a small open air market in the clerk's ward, and you've been in fish markets your whole life. It's a big industry in Dunfoss. You're used to certain sights and smells in a fish market, and there are none of those here. So you want to picture this kind of oblong market area with lots of stalls lining up the north and south sides of the street, we'll say. And then in between, there's, like, people will literally come out, like, they'll place barrels and benches down to have their lunch for the day. And looking at the stalls on both sides, some of them, it's all very, very fresh. Fresher than you could possibly associate with not having the smell of seawater in the air. And a lot of it looks just like the standard bales of fish that you're used to seeing, and some of it looks different. But back to Gus.
Mm-hmm.
You ask what time he gets off.
And
he says,
all-
not till the end of the date, Daddy.
Ugh.
Break's been waiting for that one for a year.
Yeah.
It's so good.
He was like, yes.
All right.
I'm gonna T-ball.
Paesto simply, you look down, you tell him, hey, when do you get off? And we're going to go get dinner and a drink. And he hits his chest again. Says, Paesto drinks?
You like rum?
And for the first time, you see the sides of his mouth curl up as he sneers. And when he does, you see these incredibly sharp, curved teeth in his mouth show for the first time. Several of which are cracked and broken, like a man who's been punched in the face repeatedly for many, many years. And he says, well, are you wearing a hat?
Does a hat come with the clothes we bought?
I guess it's up to Alex.
You look better in a hat. Did I find a hat that looked better than not a hat?
That's a question you have to answer with your
Okay,
6
yes,
charisma.
he's definitely wearing a hat, because Alex wears a hat.
What sort of hat is Gus wearing?
Probably like a really fashionable, like, red mage kind of hat.
Ooh, a plumed hat. With a big feather coming off of it?
Oh, yeah.
Paesto hits his chest for a third time and says, the Gus man buy rum?
Fish too, if you're hungry.
Make an insight check.
One.
Okay. His face turns back into a scowl. And he asks, somewhat angrily, you can hear the tinge of anger creeping into his voice. He says, why Gusman buy fish and rum?
I'm asking you out on a date. Gus wouldn't beat around the bush. He'd just be like, yeah, these are my intentions.
And he looks up at the sky, question mark, for a few moments, as though deep in thought. And then he looks down and says, the date. Ursina 13, no 14.
Excellent.
No 13. 13. Then he crosses his arms back over his chest.
I bet Gus is killing it.
I have every bit of confidence in the man.
Okay,
I can, yeah.
I'm asking you out to eat dinner and spend time with me and possibly in a romantic manner. Okay, before we go any further with this, Brick Road, I do appreciate that you are making this as difficult as possible on me.
Listen,
Bless you.
I didn't do anything to make this more difficult. This character was already fully formed in my notes before you decided to go on a date with him. Like, if this were a Mass Effect game, this would be the guy on the ship that you can't romance. I mean, there are sexy barriers in here, and Patience is Riot's daughter, so you know she's down to clown.
Shepherd.
Pesto asks very pointedly if the Gus man thinks fish are romantic.
No, but they're tasty.
Pesto smiles. He hits his chest with his closed fist once. Pesto agree. Pesto eat fish. And he motions back towards the sad little temple behind them across the ill-kept courtyard with the little muddy fountain and the tree stump. He says, Ostrom is queen of fish. Ostrom provide fish.
You wanna go get a bite to eat? You can tell me more about your temple, and I could tell you about the Temple of Ostrom, where I'm from.
Where Gus man from?
Apparently, it's a different plane called Trinus.
Pesto not good at Tetris.
Good job.
Always save line too long.
I couldn't. Pesto think T-spinning is bullshit.
Not agree with Berlin interpretation of Tetris.
He asks if the Gus man reveres Ostrom and is thinking to convert.
Yes. I currently do not follow any. Basically, Gus tells him that he currently isn't. He doesn't currently actively worship any gods.
At this, he kind of recoils a little bit. You can see. Make an insight check, because you can visibly see on his face now that gears are turning slowly.
5.
5. Wow, you're not the guy to be doing this.
I don't know, he's crushing it.
I think I'm the perfect man to do this.
Pesto says, Gusman perhaps eat fish with Yashnar's knowledgeable priest. Knows much.
Gus shrugs and says, Yashnar's is old to be getting out. He goes, why don't you come to the... He goes, tell me about your, Look, it's fine. You want to go get some rum and fish?
And again, you see his face kind of turn down in a light scowl. And he asks, why Gusman buy rum and fish?
I'm trying to think of another word for date. My vocabulary is not helping.
Make some hand gestures.
Oh my god.
No.
Yeah, okay. No. Lewd hand gestures. Here we go. Gus makes lewd hand gestures.
Gus,
Yep.
what are you doing with your hands?
Can we just call it generic lewd hand gestures? And not have me describe them, please?
I feel like I'm learning a lot about Treble today.
This is revenge for Birdie.
Birdie was amazing.
Make a performance check. Charisma performance.
So,
If I was a pirate god, I feel like I should give a grand advantage on lewd hand gestures.
Yeah, but Gus doesn't follow Osprey.
Yeah, you're right. His lewd hand gestures would be incredible.
okay, it's a charisma check. I get advantage on this.
Oh, right! That's the first time that spell's ever been used in that way.
10.
10.
DC 20.
Gets the gist.
I did it averagely.
Perfectly average lewd hand gestures.
This is one of those moments where something's about to happen in the game that you guys are going to think is improvised. But it's not. It's actually a part of this guy's character. That, as of last week, the end of the last session, I didn't think would come into play. And yet here we are. You seem to have confused him greatly. And he holds his own hands out in front of him, palms up. And then he begins to perform a sequence of very quick and eloquent gestures with his own hands, moving them in a particular fashion. And at first you think, okay, I've offended this guy, he's casting a spell, I'm going to be a frog forever. But you're not a frog forever. He's not casting a spell. He's not actually doing any magic. Gus, make an intelligence check.
You know, Nodal, you could help at any point.
No, he can't. He's not there.
Oh,
Oh.
right. You have to be able to... Yeah. Oh, God. He has to see me. Shit.
That's why we have a table. We're waiting for you to come sit at the table next to us.
We thought you could pull off asking a man on a date.
Intelligence check. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
4 blips.
Oh, okay.
I have to get over there. I have to get this man somewhere where I can get some help.
I rolled a 20 and a 3, so you've got some good help coming.
Phrase has never been used that way before in the history of the English language, but...
Alright, you're spending 4 blips on this intelligence check?
Yes, auto success.
Okay.
Auto success, please.
Okay, so your first thought, clearly, because you hang out with wizards exclusively, is he's doing the hand gestures. This is the somatic component for some spell. You've offended him, and he's gonna make you burst into flames, or whatever the Osprey version of that is.
Burst into barracudas.
Claw shrimp, right? But watching him, it seems like he's repeating the same few gestures repeatedly. And you have this like light bulb moment in your mind. You're thinking, this is how he communicates. using hand movements. This is a purely visual language. You don't understand it, not even a lick, but it's what he's doing right now. Because you made a weird hand gesture, and then he thought you knew how to do this.
I'm gonna hold up my hands and be like you're going like, I don't understand. I apologize. I didn't mean to confuse you.
He reaches out with his left hand, and he slaps it down on your shoulder, and it feels heavy like a rock.
Uh-huh.
Like the hand is the size like it can crush your whole face easily. And he pats your shoulder and says, "The Gus man from Tetris." And he hits his chest. "Pesto from the Tabuyan."
And I'll put my hand on his shoulder. So it's nice to meet you.
So you like you reach way up.
Yeah. Like how tall is this man? Like
A head and a half taller than you, and you're already a pretty big guy.
Okay, so not like way up.
So we're talking a good 7.5 or so. We're up in Shaquille O'Neal territory, but he's much broader. He's got a lot more girth to him, and an eye patch.
Yeah. Gus is gonna like point behind him with one hand and says, "Come on, let's go get some seafood and rum."
And he nods, and he begins following you. And he says, "Pesto drink rum."
Uh-huh. And I will lead him to the spot.
So, Lucius and Connor, the two of you are at a table in this fish market.
Mm-hmm.
As I've described, this is not like an outdoor cafe eatery area. This is a place where there's an open air market, and people have brought tables and things to sit on. They just kind of get dragged out and around as needed. So there's not actually like a restaurant that owns all these tables or whatever. You go up, you buy your food at whatever of these counters, you throw your platinums down, you get your bizarre space octopus sandwich, pita, and then you find like the industrial spool core or something out in the road to eat at. So the two of you are sitting at one of those, and we can save this time that you've been maintaining like a nearby one that you want Gus and Pesto to, like, you've been shooing people away from, like, oh yeah, we're holding those, our friends are going to be here any minute, and like, they're just out in the lobby buying popcorn.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Alex and Seeker are also nearby in disguise.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex and Seeker, my first question is, are you guys together?
I think we're sharing a table, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're down in the marketplace.
Yeah, we have a table with like actual like I went and got food. I don't know about Seeger. I need to eat.
Fair enough.
I mean, it makes a better show as well if we have food. Props.
Gus.
Yep.
You have to walk past a lot of sources of food to get where you're going. And you can tell that Pesto has confusion over this. Every time you look back, he's got that trademark scowl still on his face. He doesn't seem to entirely know why you're walking past all the food. So you leave the hive, and you start walking into the clerk's ward. You walk in the direction of the market that you found the other day. And again, to your sensibilities, it's a very bizarre fish market because there's no smells of a fish market in the air. It just smells like dirty old sigil. The table that they've staked out for you is a larger one. Actually, I would have to ask Lucius and Connor this. Did you stake out a table for them where they will sit across from each other or next to each other while eating?
Oh, next to each other while eating.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well.
Obviously.
Well. See, but if they're across from each other, they get to look and stare in each other's eyes. But I have a feeling in this fish market, easier to hear each other if they're next to each other.
Yeah, that's what I.
Paesto only has one eye. He's got the eye patch.
Oh, good point. Yeah, close to each other.
Okay. Now, Treble. My wife is blind in one eye, so I have learned over the years that it's very rude to sit on that side.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I will let you extrapolate from that.
Okay.
So you see the table that they've staked out for you, and they've arranged it so there's a little more space around this particular table. There's still foot traffic all over the place, but the nearest actual market stall here, instead of just being surrounded by other market stalls, actually has kind of like an alleyway behind it. And as you approach, and the rest of you guys have seen this happen a couple times over the course of the afternoon, but you've seen somebody like go into the alleyway, pulling a cart behind them. Usually just like a rickshaw type situation where they're just pulling it behind them with their arms and legs. But once in a while they'll be riding something and they'll hitch up a horse or some kind of bizarre quadruped mammal that you'd be like, if I saw that around Trennis, I would roll initiative immediately. That's ridiculous. But they go into this little alleyway, this skinny little alleyway that these carts barely fit into sometimes. The wagon wheels are hitting the stalls on either side. They disappear up around a corner, and when they come back out, the cart is loaded with fish of various shapes and sizes. And there does not seem to be a lot of correlation to the types of fish that are coming out. Just piles of it. Sometimes neatly wrapped up in paper packages and stacked up in the back of the cart. Sometimes just like a big flop of disgusting fish slurry, and then everything in between. And Gus and Paesto. So this isn't a restaurant. They're not going to come around and take your order. Like, you're going to have to go up to one of the stalls. And there are stalls where people are serving rum just out of giant barrels with ladles. A kind of bring your own cup situation. So Gus, did you bring your own cup?
I actually do have cups in my bag. So yes.
Gus is a functioning alcoholic.
Yep.
You fish out. So what kind
Whiskey
of
mugs we got at some point, or I think of a different campaign.
That was an earlier campaign. I think it was the first campaign.
So Gus, what are these cups? Are these like beer mugs?
Let me see.
Are they little Dixie cups?
It just says cup.
That's okay. So feel free to elaborate.
Okay, they're mugs.
Okay. So you bring out these little mugs, and Paesto says, "The Gus man always prepared."
I wink at him.
He didn't like that.
I don't know. Roll a charisma check.
Gus, don't wink at a one-eyed man. Hello?
Oh God.
You're like, look what I can do. Wink.
Hey, he can. Blinking at him is rude. Winking that guy can pull off.
So yeah, Gus, you're in the driver's seat now. You told this guy you're going to buy him rum and fish, and here you are at the rum and fish market. Some of the fish is, we're talking just wholesale, fresh out of the ocean. Some of the stalls are actually cooking it up in a variety of ways. There's sizzling noises in the air. You're pretty sure somebody's just chucking old fish scraps into a pool of what looks like molten rock.
Don't buy that.
I'm going to pull the seat out for him and have him sit down, and then I'm going to get rum.
Okay.
Bring the 2 mugs of rum over, place them down, and then go and get some 2 servings of roasted fish with a 3rd serving extra.
And by the time you get back, he's had both mugs of rum already.
And I will get up and go get some more rum.
And by the time you get back, he's eaten all the fish.
Oh, I've done this puzzle before. You need to bring him and one of the items with you into the boat.
You have to leave the goat or the wolf behind.
Okay.
The good news is he does look like he's having a good time now.
I'm
Can we
going
have
to.
Can we have a Tower of Hanoi as well?
I'm going to go, hold on. And then I'm not going to place the rum down. I'm going to get 3 more servings of fish, since Alex is paying for this.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm assuming Alex is keeping track of what else is being spent here.
I'm going to place a serving down in front of him, a piece of rum down in front of him, and then like a serving and a plate and the other rum in front of me.
Make an insight check.
12.
12. As you go through all of this work and you get back and you set the food down, you notice that he doesn't immediately go for it. He kind of sits back in his chair and puts the scowl on his face again. But you're not sure why he's done this.
What's
Alright, I
with the
think this is
scowl?
where I'm going to start helping out.
Okay.
I'm going to cast Detect Thoughts and go for his surface thoughts.
His surface thoughts are embarrassment because he's just he's just realized that Gus was trying to buy food for both of them and he thought the food was just for him.
Alright, and I just kind of cover my head and whisper and point towards Gus and send him a message that says, he's embarrassed, just pretend it didn't happen.
He goes, and I'll do that. I'll be like, so, how long have you been a priest of Osprey?
And he thumps his chest. 12 full cycle. No, 13. No, 12. 12 cycle.
Nice. I've been a soldier my entire life. Recently started working with a group of investigators. Did a lot of marching across the desert.
And he thumps his chest again. And this time he sits up straight in his chair. He kind of puffs his chest out. And he asks you very directly. He says, what's desert?
And I'll start describing the deserts of over in Kiska. And
Okay.
I'll go into as much detail as he wants.
Are you staying on surface thoughts?
Yeah, I'm staying on surface thoughts until it runs out, basically.
How long does it last?
A minute.
A minute. Okay.
Just start talking about like
Seeker. He is very enthralled by the description of this desert, and you definitely get the sense that he is from a world much like this. A world where there is no water and there is no fish. And probably very little rum.
Alright, and I'll shoot that bit of little info over to Gus. The desert bit's playing well. He's from a desert planet.
He goes, I actually do kind of miss the desert a lot. Like we kind of had a bad time coming across the ocean with my the general of the army that the mercenary outfit that I with, and well, pretty much shit went down and I was able to get away.
You feel the weight of his left hand as it comes across on your shoulder, and he says, desert very harsh. Many brothers blooded.
Yep.
So you guys are watching, and now they suddenly both look very, very sad.
We get that nice 1,000-yard stare.
This is the place where we want everybody's date to go, where they have come together in PTSD.
He goes, okay, so I got to get on the topic of warriors. So, like, he goes, many brothers blooded. Can you tell me some stories about warriors and things that you know of?
And he holds his hands out over the table with his elbows pulled all the way back into his chest. And he entwines his fingers in a particular way. Then he pulls his hands back and he starts into hand motions again. And Seeker, you're getting... actually, you're getting nothing. It only lasts a minute. You're out of there now.
I think I see him start doing weird hand motions, and I'm gonna put it back up just to figure out what the heck's going on there.
Okay. And he's telling a story, but he's using a language where that's just a visual language with his hands. And he's telling the story about how in the world he's from, there are gargantuan creatures that live underneath the desert that are blind their entire lives, but incredibly sensitive to sounds. And in some portions, when these creatures are large enough and in tuned enough with the magic of the worlds, very, very soft sounds. And the story he's telling is about one of his brothers in arms who had whose mount threw him into a poisonous brush, and the poison made him hallucinate and drove him mad, and the cries of his pain were enough that Paesto and his other tribe mates had to abandon him in the desert to his fate, so as not to draw these creatures up.
And Seeker hears the story and looks at him doing hand gestures and just says out loud, "Oh, you have to be kidding me." And then he shoots a message over to Gus and says, "Gus, he comes from somewhere where you have to be really quiet. He's talking right now. I can't get that from comprehend languages. You have to get him off of it." Tell him, I don't know, tell him that in order to honor his fallen companions, let you use sound to know that you fear nothing.
Do you tell me what he's talking about?
Yeah, I give you like the quick gist.
And Gus nods and says, "I'm sorry, I had to leave some people behind as well. I'm just ignoring Seeker
Okay.
on that one."
Well, you're not, because otherwise you wouldn't know what he's talking about.
Right. I'm talking about I'm ignoring the getting with
The advice.
Yeah, he goes, but I don't really follow your hand gestures all that well.
And then he stops the hand gestures and he crosses his arms over his chest again. And he scowls. And he says, Go ahead.
I do get the gist of it.
He tells you, dark and terrible things below Sigil as well. But Sigil very loud.
It is. Going from living in the desert and to a city is kind of an adjustment. I've had to drink a lot in compensation.
But Osbrum in Sigil. Osbrum banish evils from the desert. And he thumps his chest. Says, Paesto, grateful for Queen of Fish.
You mentioned Yashnars is a really good priest.
Yashnar is very knowledgeable. Yashnars teach Paesto much. Teach Paesto loud talk.
He was talking about, when we spoke with him, he seemed very wise. He mentioned that he was looking, he mentioned a warrior that he was dreaming about, that he kind of would like to see again one day. He goes, your story reminded me of that. Reminded me of all the fighting I did in the desert.
At this, he brightens up a little bit. And you see his arms move out like he's about to tell you something, but then he catches himself and puts them back across his chest. And he says, Paesto, hired to find Yashnar's birthplace. Have been there. Seen wondrous and amazing things.
Oh, can you tell me a little bit more? This is, and I'll be like, coming to Sigil is the first time I've left where I'm from, like our plane. Was it difficult to find?
At Gus's look of excitement, I think I'll turn on my third detect thoughts.
Okay. The surface thoughts are just an incredible sense of duty to patience rather than Yashnar's, as he's describing this. But yeah, basically he tells you that he's been to this world before, to Yashnar's world. He's seen it with his own eyes. Do you want to try to go deeper than that?
No, I'm gonna wait until Gus can either get him a little bit drunker, or he seems like he's gonna avoid Gus's questions. I'm hoping to get it through surface thoughts.
I'm gonna be like, and I'll stop him and like, I'll be like, oh, the rum's gone. Hold on one sec. This is a tale like this requires more, and I'm going to go and get rum. And in fact, do they have like a do they sell any like small keg, like party kegs?
No, the dude has barrels of rum stacked up behind him, and he has a ladle. You put a few coppers on his bench, and he gives you a ladle of rum, and that's it. That is the end of your transaction.
So when you talk about a barrel, you mean like a full-sized barrel? Or
Yes.
like a comically large barrel?
Like a full-size barrel. And he's got probably a dozen or so stacked up behind him, and when he gets to the bottom of one of them, he rolls it aside, pulls another one out, cracks off the top, and goes right back to ladling.
I don't have a point. How much for an entire barrel? I'm going to expense this.
He looks you up and down. Who represents you? Who has sent you here?
Nobody. I just want some rum.
He sees that you've already been up here 3 or 4 times, and he motions to the counter. 3 coppers a ladle.
No. I want a whole barrel.
And he looks at the barrels, and looks back at you, and he looks at the line forming up behind you of impatient people holding cups.
And I pull out... shit. I just pull out a whole platinum piece. Can you give me a barrel?
And he thinks for a moment. You can see he's doing calculations in his head. He says, let's say 3,000 ladles in a barrel. So that's 9,000 copper pieces he's asking you for.
Shit. Help. Math.
It's 900 silver.
Huh?
So
which
90
is
gold.
90 gold, which is 9 platinum.
Okay. I pull out 9 platinum.
Okay.
I think I have that. Let me see.
Yeah, you have 20 on you.
Why did we let Gus have 9 platinum?
How much has Gus spent, by the way? I'll handle his calculations.
I think it's gonna fall in the wash after this 9 platinum incident.
So yeah, Gus, I mean, he takes the 9 platinum and he confirms the coins are real, and he kind of motions you back. He takes his right foot and he kicks something, and you hear like a little wooden ramp. The little wooden door next to him falls over onto the cobble, making kind of a makeshift ramp up to the platform.
Uh-huh.
And he invites you back to collect your barrel.
Okay, I'll roll the barrel over to Fiesto.
And he goes right back to ladling rum out. So Lucius and Connor and the other fellas are watching what's happening now. How are we feeling about the situation?
Connor looks at Lucius and says, how much did he just spend to get
Drunk Gus says
that
hello.
giant barrel of rum?
Drunk Gus.
What? It's...
Lucius
Guys.
literally says, Drunk Gus says hi.
I don't think Connor's that drunk, Gus.
Like, Connor's a little concerned about alcohol poisoning now.
So, guys, you roll the barrel up, and you get it standing upright next to your table. Piesto, you can't tell what you're doing. And I'm assuming you're carrying something to get the top of the barrel off, a crowbar, or... I mean, a crowbar is really the tool for the job.
Right. I don't know if I have a crowbar in my bag. Hold on.
Scrappy just sort of walks by, and you hear the sound of a piece of metal falling onto the ground.
Gus coughs and bends over and picks up the crowbar.
I'm gonna need a performance check from both Scrappy and Gus.
I get advantage.
You do? I should have cast this at a higher level and put it on Scrappy too. I didn't know it would come up. 15.
15.
No, 17.
Oh wow, Scrappy's really good at this. Gus, are you as good as a giant metal badger dog?
No. I rolled a 14 minus 1, 13.
Okay.
Plus 5.
So,
Okay.
you managed to kind of nonchalantly deliver this crowbar to Gus, and you're not sure that Pesto has noticed, because he seems fixated on the actual barrel. So Gus gets the crowbar down and pulls the lid off the top of this barrel, and it's just a barrel of rum.
And I'm going to reach over to the mug in front of him, dip it in, and hand it back, and be like, he goes, we'll drink to adventures that we've had.
And you get most of the way through that sentence before other people start peeling off of the rum line and coming over and just dipping their cups into your barrel.
I'm going to stop them.
How?
I will. I'm going to just try and intimidate them away by yelling at them first.
So, the rest of you are watching. The date seems to be going great. As Gus is now yelling at people in the middle of the marketplace. And, Gus, make an intimidation check.
Intimidation, that is a 12.
Okay. So there's no shortage of people just coming up and dipping their mugs into this barrel. And as Gus is focusing
You have
on...
advantage on Intimidate.
I did.
Oh, jeez.
So, and as Gus is focusing on one or two of them, others are coming up behind. And it strikes the rest of you that this was a bad idea. And probably a bad use of 9 platinum coins. And Pesto just seems very, very confused at the situation. Although he's drinking the mug that Gus gave him. Gus, unless you're willing to start a massive fight that you'll probably lose, there's not going to be a good way to keep people from dipping their mugs into your rum.
I'm going to put the lid back on the rum.
Okay. So you fit the lid back on, and some people go away dejected. And you have a short argument with somebody over, like his right to drink, and how you're standing in the way of, etc., etc.
Alex tells Seeker that he's going to be right back, and Alex goes off to try and find a tap.
Okay.
And then Gus will open the lid just long enough to fill up our cups and then put the lid back on.
So every few minutes you're hoisting this lid off with the crowbar, filling your cups, and then you're hammering it back into place.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're using the butt of the crowbar as the hammer here, because you're not carrying a hammer.
Right.
Okay. Pesto sees the whole spectacle, watches it all play down, and he sees how Gus is handling the situation. He thumps his chest with his fist. Tetris have strange drinking traditions.
How many rums are we in currently?
Half a barrel?
Uh,
No, we're definitely in Drunk Gus territory if you're trying to keep up with Pesto, because he's got higher constitution than you do.
right. Well, Gus isn't a slouch. He's got a...
Sure. What's next?
But yeah. Gus is asking him about his adventures. Basically, I'll ask him a question and then get him to trade a story, and then I'll tell him a story about, some exploit that we've done.
Okay. Seeker, when do you time your next detect thoughts to go in there?
I'm gonna wait until I'm gonna tell Gus to tap on the table anytime he's about to ask a question about Yashnars, and I'll do it then.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How many times can you cast detect thoughts?
I've got another. Let me count it up.
And
I've got another 7.
Another 7. Each one's a minute, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Gus, what do you ask?
Tell me about your trip to Yashnars' world. I haven't been to too many myself, so...
Seeker.
Yeah.
What skill am I going to call this? I'm going to say either nature or history. You can decide, but you're rolling it at disadvantage.
Okay. That's going to be history. I'm going to spend 2 blips to re-roll that.
Okay.
I re-rolled a 20. That's a 25.
As you do. Gus, Paesto describes, and this is like a 3 layers removed from the original source material, because he's describing a person that Yashnar has described to him that Yashnar saw in a dream. And he's describing a monstrous creature covered head to toe in fiery hair and wearing blackened armor with fangs. And so here he's just describing some monster that Yashnar has wanted him to go find. Seeker, you're putting together the various layers, you and your 25.
Yeah.
You're pretty sure that Yashnars would not have made an emotional connection at any point in his life with a monster. So clearly that's not what Paesto is describing. Your thought is he's describing a hobgoblin. Hobgoblins, to your mind, would be a very militaristic type of monstrous humanoid that is known for leading other goblinoid species into battle. There are many, many tales of Dunfoss of hobgoblin armies being crushed beneath the heel of Dunfoss knights and their dwarven allies, etc. Lots of bards sing stories about this. There would not be a hobgoblin citizen in Dunfoss. That kind of thing is not something you'd be familiar with. But that's the creature that you're pretty sure Paesto is describing.
Seeker can't believe drunk Gus pulled this one out.
Wow, she sounds fierce. Did he say... Gus is starting to slur a little bit. Did he...
Starting?
Do you want to go get a room?
Paesto doesn't really seem to understand what you're asking. He thumps his chest and says, "The Gus man done buying fish?"
No, we could keep eating if you're still hungry. I can eat a little more.
And he grins with his sharp fangs in his mouth. "Paesto eat fish."
And I'm gonna start telling him like some story about some campaign Gus has been on in the desert.
Okay.
And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna ask him, like, so did Yashnars ask you to do this?
Do you thump the table? Are you thumping the table to signal Seeker?
Hold on.
Sure.
Making a Constitution check.
No.
Why are you... Okay.
Because he forgot.
Sure.
I was just gonna get like 50-50 shot. He forgot.
So Seeker, minutes go by.
Seeker starts to put 2 and 2 together on this one. And he sighs. And he summons his familiar
Okay.
underneath the table and then casts Greater Invisibility on it.
Okay. So Gus, what's your next question?
Oh, not Greater Invisibility, just regular invisibility, sorry.
Not so great invisibility.
What's my next question? Did you find her?
And he scowls, folds his arms over his chest, shakes his head, says, "No, long dead."
Well, Yashnars is very old.
He's found the black elf. And he puts his hands next to his the sides of his head and sticks his fingers up like little ears. He says, "You know elf? Have elf in Tetris?"
Yes.
And he nods, folds his arms back.
I point at my ears. Because Gus is half elf.
At that, you see his eye gets really wide. And Seeker, you cast. What are you doing with your familiar?
I'm sending my familiar over there to listen in.
And you send your familiar over just in time to hear a riveting conversation where Piesto is trying to figure out whether Gus is an elf.
Why? What is happening over there?
He seems very excited by this prospect. Gus, how elf on a scale of 0 being not an elf to 10 being entirely an elf, how much of an elf do you tell Piesto you are?
5?
5?
Yeah. We'll just go with the half.
So you put your invisible familiar under the table, and you hear this discussion about how Gus is kind of an elf, but not really, and Piesto... He seems confused and disappointed at the same time.
I've seen real elves, though. There's tribes of elves that live in the desert where I'm from, and then there's elves that live in the forests down south of Dunfos, correct?
Very, very far to the south, yes.
Yes, and then, of course, there is the, as you called them, black elves, that apparently are no bueno.
And he says, "Black like charcoal, as though burned."
Yes. Yeah, I've met 2 of those. I'll hold up 2 fingers. 2 of them. One of them is...
Seeker, now you're just giving away the details from your prior investigations.
Oh, none of them are going to remember this.
And then, like, what did the black elf you found say?
He tells you that the elf he's met had a flying boat. And he points upward and says, "In a world with sky, a boat that sails on clouds instead of sand." And he had no eyes. And he holds his hands up over, well, one over his eye and the other over his eye patch.
This seems like it might be relevant, so I'm going to have my familiar try to hide nearby so that I can take invisibility off. Should I make a stealth check for it?
Yeah, make it at advantage, because it is invisible at the moment. And it's also fairly loud.
Alright, that is a 17.
Okay. So where are you hiding your familiar? Like, you're putting it under the table, or...
Yeah, under the table.
Okay. I mean, in the rum barrel.
I start just getting increasingly less coherent thoughts coming back.
So the surface thoughts right now is Piesto is thinking about his time serving aboard this flying ship. And how he was a new acolyte of Osprey at the time and had been told of a type of vessel that takes bounty from the ocean. That Osprey does not give freely, but enables... there's like religious edicts here. Ostrom does not give gifts, but she makes gifts available to be taken. And he's thinking about piracy. Except this particular vessel it flew in the air rather than sailing across. He said the sand because that's what he's used to seeing boats sail across. Are we staying at surface level or going deeper?
No, we're staying at surface level for now.
All right, Gus, what's your next question? Did Treble just give up? Did he just walk away?
Treble's
I think Treble's having
comm
connection
issues, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, he disconnected from tabletop too.
He dropped out of Discord and stuff too.
Give him a minute. It looks like he might come back.
Okay.
Maybe.
You can do it, Treble. I have faith in you.
It's times like this that I would try to pop into the Flumph chat on Discord to see if maybe he said something, but it's just Undertale music. People are just posting Undertale music. That's all it is. How do you guys think the date is going?
Well,
We're getting there. I think we're on the verge of a breakthrough.
I feel like this is going to be one of those like S-links that isn't actually that important in the end. It'll be like, +5 to fusion rate or something. We're done.
It's like
Who cares?
the S-link of like the gym membership guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the level I'm thinking here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on my phone now.
Excellent.
No, I lost all my internet. Just went down.
Excellent.
Okay.
So what's the last
Next
thing you
question.
recall hearing?
You were describing the airship, but
Okay.
I heard some of like what the next question was.
What is your next question?
Next question was so what did the dark elf say? He didn't have eyes. That's the last thing I
Right. And
my next question.
you asked him, what does the Dark Elf say? And basically he just recounts that Yashnar's served on his crew as a young man.
How long has she been dead?
And he thumps his chest. Long dead.
Like, how many seasons?
And he shakes his head. Says, impossible to know. Elf live longer than anyone. Elf live forever. He says somewhat wistfully. Seeker, are we staying on surface thoughts here?
I'm gonna send Gus a message
Mhm.
and say, Gus, I'm gonna go in a little further. Ask him if he ever saw a picture of her.
So going down is a wisdom saving throw, yes?
Yeah, he rolled a 3.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. And I'm assuming that that doesn't beat your save DC?
No.
Okay. So what direction are you going in when you go
I'm gonna
down?
just try to get a physical image of this woman, something that I can then give to Lucius for crafting the dream.
Sorry.
And the image you're getting is a kind of embellished version of a hobgoblin. A female hobgoblin emblazoned in armor, wearing Osprey's sigil, that wields, kind of interchangeably, a trident and a whip.
Okay. And then I'm gonna back out after that because I'm good.
Okay. Gus, what's your next question?
Well,